This is Yohhamgambal. We're back playing Shadow Hearts. Last time we found, well, we didn't really, we're doing a couple different things, but right now Alice decided that she needs to go, back to the place where her father died. We did, though, meet Kadelka, who is, Haley's mother. Of course, Kadelka being one of the main characters from the previous games, doubly named Kadelka. So yeah. Of course, which brings in a couple of other questions, though. But, we're gonna get a lot of answers in this part. Anyways, though, just doing a little roulette. This one took a while to do. I don't even use the item, but I was just getting it for the sake of getting it. Just the accelerator. That's just for the, pedometer, which is actually a little bit helpful if you're trying to get one of, Margaret gets her ultimate weapon by getting a certain number of steps on the pedometer, and this does help a little bit, but that's, if you've put the pedometer on since the beginning of the game and you haven't bought any items with it, then you will not really need any of the items that double it or anything. But yeah, though, anyways, though, with Alice, what we need to do is go into the church and go to the confessionary room. But let me see, I think I get this on my first time. I'm actually not too good at these rings where you have to press the buttons and keep it in a certain area. It's kind of hard to explain. It doesn't look too hard, and it's not really hard. For me, I have trouble with it because once you stop pressing it, the indicator goes down really fast, so you have to really keep it up. And it's not like that's tiring or anything, but if you go too fast, then it goes up too much, and then it goes past the color. But if you do too slow, then it falls. So it's kind of a balance where it's kind of a little hard to get. Anyway, so if you come into this room, you can get an item. And we're gonna want to get it because it's just a Jasper cape, which is a defensive, an armor, and it's a pretty decent armor. This will be the last armor we get for Alice until we get her ultimate armor, which will be in a couple of episodes. We're very near the end of the game. In the next couple of parts, like after I think the next part, we will actually start going for everybody's ultimate weapon, their ultimate armor, all the side bosses, and how to get the optional good ending, which is not the canonical ending. The canonical ending for this game, like Kadelka, is actually the bad ending. So, yeah. Well, I don't know if Kadelka's ending was the bad ending. That was the canonical one. That's where O'Flannery dies. I mean, no matter what, he dies in either one, but I don't remember if it's if you get beaten or if you beat Elena. But anyways, though, here we have Doyle. Of course, Doyle being the man who was here before, who was struck down by lightning by Roger Bacon, or possibly Olga. But look, there's Doyle and Roger Bacon. Cardinal Albert Simon. The Albert Simon we've been looking for this whole time? This puts the pieces together. So, the Roger Bacon that we know from this game is not the Roger Bacon we know from the last game. So he's pretending to be Roger Bacon, and his real name is Cardinal Albert Simon. And of course, he was the person Alice and her father were supposed to originally meet on that night. So they did meet the person they were looking for, but he just turned out to kill at least him instead. I don't think anyone's really surprised that this isn't Roger Bacon. If you played the last game, then it's obvious that this isn't, but you don't know who he is or what his game is, so. Oh, he's talking about Patrick and Elena. If you remember in Kadoka, Patrick bought the monastery, but his wife was murdered by bandits in the night, and he began to heavily grieve, and to try and bring her back, he started sacrificing countless amounts of people from the village, and I think slaves and prostitutes too, to bring her back, and he did somewhat successfully bring her back. He brought her body back, but not her mind. So he's only halfway there. But of course, we found Patrick eventually dead in the game by I think a vine actually was in his body, and it's kind of like a mini bossy fight. Anyways, though, I was also debating on who I wanted to use, so I decided to use Haley. He's my permanent party member. I actually like him a lot. I didn't use him really that much during my during my practice run. I went with Margaret. But yeah, he's definitely my final member. And like I said, I wanted to try and switch things up with the party, but at this point, the characters started getting huge difference in levels. So it's just going to be Haley, Alice, and Yuri for now on. I might occasionally switch it up for a couple of things, but most of the time it is just going to be Haley and Alice with Yuri. Because Yuri's actually pretty good. Haley's actually pretty decent. He has pretty good physical attack. And then when you put him with the Mind's Eye, and then you upgrade his physical attack with Yuri's fire fusion, it's pretty damn good. And I don't know what the hell I was doing here. I was thinking, I think. Yeah, I was just thinking. Couldn't remember where I was going. But we're going to go to the Nematone Monastery. Of course, that being the place where Kadoka took place. The whole time was in this monastery. And that's new, though. That was not in that game. Has a giant heart on it. It's like an anime house. Yuri, you can turn into a demon. A house transforming into a robot isn't that far-fetched. Well, I don't think we have a choice. We should go inside. We do want to go inside, though, for a couple reasons. One, it progresses the story. Two, we can get another gravestone in here. I think it's the last one. Or no, we still haven't gotten the water one yet. It's the second to last one. Well, I mean, I think Yuri is Japanese, so he probably grew somewhere in Japan. But he was a farmer boy, so I don't know if he had any anime TV out there to watch, like Gundam or Speed Racer, I don't know. Anyways, there's not much you can do here. You just want to visit it, but what you want to do is go all the way in the corner, and you can find the light gravestone, which will allow us to fuse the level 3 light demon. Which is nice, not that I use it, but it's still, you know. Yep, there we go. And we will actually be getting our level 3 fusions very soon. Very, very soon. We can't use that. I thought we could, but we can't use it yet. We have to wait for a little later. That's actually pretty useful. But in that, though, there's not much else to do in here. You can just look at the stuff, but eventually we're going to want to move on. Made by a true craftsman. Yeah, I was really wanting to use the item over there, but I forgot that you can't use it yet. We need to wait to be given permission to use it, so I finally figure out, well, I'll just come back later, and that's what we're just going to have to do. See a machine. But yeah, though, with that we can just save. It's a weird building. But we'll see it actually a couple more times, especially in the sequels. Which I'm excited to play through too, but don't worry, I'm not going to play through those next. I'm going to do something different for the next LP. I've gone through what? I did 3 RPG in a row? Yeah. I did 3 RPGs in a row, so. Anyways, if you come over here, this is actually a pretty cool Easter egg. I don't know if it's an Easter egg, but it's James O'Flannery, of course. I've been saying a lot. He was one of the main characters from the previous game who was Mant of Nobility, who became I believe that is the Mant of Nobility is actually it's a item for Keith. It's an armor. It's a pretty good one, but I don't think it's his ultimate. We get his ultimate later, which sounds very similar to that one, but it's not this one. I was trying to look for it, but I didn't know what it was at the time. I forgot what that was. But James, though, from the last game, was a man of the Catholic Church. He was actually sent from the Vatican to find the emigre documents. Of course, the emigre documents being the tool that allowed Patrick to revive the dead, his wife, Elena. But as I said before, unfortunately created a monster without a mind. It did have a mind, but it wasn't of his wife. It was of a beast, a feral beast that could only attack and kill. But yeah, though, depending on what ending you get, James, no matter what, does die. But it is nice that they buried him here. Because Elena was also his first love. And he did want to marry her, but he was poor. He didn't have the right kind of financial backing, I guess, to marry her, and thus let Patrick marry her. But I think they made like a vow between each other that Patrick would have to take care of her. Oh, we know who this fine mummy-looking gentleman is. It's good to see a friendly face. I mean, Haley, Yuri, and Alice do not know who this gentleman is, but of course we do, and we know he's a fine fellow. He's a good man. If, albeit a tad quirky. I like his suit, though. Strange creature. Well, we can just... Nope. Yeah, you can try and name him, but he won't let you. And apparently he has the power to break the fourth wall. It's too bad he doesn't become a playable character. That'd be awesome. And there he is, Roger Bacon, the eternal prodigy. Of course, Roger Bacon, being in the last game we met him, he was asleep for about 100 years. He actually, his story is that the Vatican asked him to, I think, decipher one of the secret documents and rewrite them down. And he did, because the documents were getting too old and they were afraid they were going to lose them due to the passage of time. And he did write them down, but during that time he memorized them and actually, in fact, performed an ancient druid technique on him that made him basically immortal, it seemed. But the thing that's interesting about it is that he cannot perform this technique on anyone else, and in fact tampered. I don't know if this is ever stated in the games, but if you read deeper into the lore, he tampered with the rewriting that he did of the documents that he was copying, and messed and put in kind of some wrong instructions, I believe, so that no one else could ever do it correctly. If I remember correctly from what I was reading when I did some more of the deeper reading into the story of Shadow Hearts. But yeah, that is the original Rocket. I almost said Rocker Bacon. That is the original Roger Bacon. Yeah, though, Roger Bacon's a pretty cool character, and in fact, is quite prominent in all the Shadow Hearts series. It's good, though. I really do like Roger Bacon, and I'm glad that he's in all the games. He's just a funny character. I like him. But yeah, though, this is his home. Seems like he didn't stray too far from the monastery after reawakening. Yep, he's just gonna retell the story. It was more than just a prison. I think it was like a place to torture people, because there was a lot of angry spirits there. And those were there before I think Patrick came along too. Or maybe, I'm not sure. The question is though, where did he get the emigre documents to even perform such dark magic? Because they were stolen from the Vatican. Couldn't have been Roger Bacon. He was asleep for 100 years or so. Yes, how did he get the emigre documents? Who, me? He's like, no, not you. So it seems like Albert seems to have some form of life extending. I don't know if he's immortal like Roger is, but he definitely seems to have some life extending abilities.
Of all my disciples, he stood out as the finest. In fact, he was too good. Having come from the lowest and poorest class of society, Albert lifted himself up and applied himself diligently to study so that he could change the world. I saw great promise in him, and I taught him everything I knew. Law, philosophy, science, astronomy, alchemy. But in time, he began to question certain contradictions he saw in the world. The ruling classes and the subjected masses. He came to reject a world in which a person's place was determined by his birth, and he lost patience with me when I attempted to moderate his views. In the end, he brought me up on charges before the court of the Vatican. But it was he who the church condemned. Of course! In an age of absolutism, anyone who called for the granting of rights to individual citizens could do nothing but anger the powers that be, whether in the church or the state. Any such person was destined to be condemned as a heretic and locked away forever, or tortured to death. The truth is, I knew that he was right. But I also knew that a world in which everyone could live as equals was nothing but a pipe dream. Perhaps it could be achieved in time, as knowledge spread more widely among the people. But for that age, it was an idea much too far ahead of its time.
with that, we have a plan. We are going to go take on Roger and I'm sorry, Albert, but it seems like Roger knows. Well, Albert might be Lane. We're going to use this strange machine, and it is actually a vending machine, and it lets us buy items. I went ahead and bought everything off screen because you guys don't need to see me doing all the discounts. I bought mainly just equipment for just my 3 main characters. I didn't need to buy the silver talons because I'm about to find better weapons for Yuri. And his brass knuckles are still stronger than what he has right now, than those. But I didn't put them on. But got her the Grand Bible. But yeah, this will be like the last time I buy them weapons because after this, like I said, oh yeah, she does get one more equipment. Armor. I'll be going for their ultimate armors and their ultimate weapons. So yeah. So we're gonna put on. This is actually a pretty cool looking slingshot. But yeah, they're gonna put that on him. Put the robes on. These are actually pretty good robes. Pretty good defensive. And I think, yeah, put on the new one. There you go. But with that though, there's not much else to do except for head to the monastery to meet up with Roger because he seems to know where Albert is. And it seemed like Kadelka knew too. I mean, that's why she directed us to come here. Yep. Gonna head to the monastery at the ruins. Other way. There you go. This place is a little confusing to get through at first, but once you know, it's pretty easy. But you know what though? I'm gonna end the video here, and we will go ahead and hopefully fight. Well, we will. We will fight Albert in the next part. So this has been Yohhamgambal. Thanks for watching. See you next time as we continue to play more Shadow Hearts. And say goodbye to the crazy house. Okay. Bye then.